In this video, you're going to see how to wrap the shelves of this glass cabinet with mirror film to create a really dynamic effect. So this is part one of a two-part series. So in this one, again, you're going to see the shelves wrapped, and then you're going to see part two, the back section wrapped. So you just get a total transformation. So obviously the first step is taking these shelves out. Definitely don't want to install it in the cabinet. So a good tip is to always wear gloves so your hands don't slip during this process, and carefully take it out. Definitely don't want to make any mistakes or nick any of those edges. And then once everything's safely removed, it's all about prepping the material. This is the work table in the Wrap Institute Center. So here I have a spray bottle filled with vinegar. Vinegar is, obviously a great cleaner, but what it also does is it deionizes this surface. This particular film that's being installed, this is from a company called Ozlon in Germany, and it's a polyester film, so it really creates electrostatic charge, especially in the wintertime. So spraying the table down with vinegar gives a big prep, and then coming in with a tack cloth, then rolling out. Very good setup before you roll the panel out. And now once everything's ready to go and all the panels are cut to size, ready to rock and roll on these shelves, always a good idea to clean it really well. This is a great scrubber from a company in the Netherlands called Wrap Gear. A lot of these type of tools that can really clean glass. Another way to clean glass is to use a metal scraper. So here I'm at the work table, sitting down in a comfortable chair. So it's all about nice, good workflow. Really just take care of your body. Make sure you have a good workspace table set up, super clean. But again, sponge, then scraper, so you make sure it's hyper smooth. Mentioned earlier, this material is polyester, and that doesn't really flex much. So if there's any specks underneath the material, it's going to stand out. Then the final stage is using a wide squeegee to get rid of that excess moisture and dirt. Then double check at all the dirt's away from the outside of the shelf right now. And then if there's a little moisture left right now, just coming back and removing it one more time. So make sure it's hyper clean, not only on the shelf, but around it as well. Always a good idea then to come in with a tack cloth just to double and triple check that there's no dirt at all. So be super thorough during this process. And now here you're going to see one way to do it, and this is basically a dry install technique. So I have a little excess film on one side, create nice even tension on the other side, coming with the squeegee right now and just basically locking it on the cutting mat right there, so get a nice good solid hinge. And once that's set there, basically just going to squeegee the shelf right into the material. And very good idea just to keep the material nice and high off the shelf right now and go back and forth. Now keep in mind that the adhesive on this particular material has no air egress feature, it's not repositionable, and it has water based. So basically if you stick it on, especially high surface energy like this glass, if you do happen to pick it back up, there's a good chance the adhesive might shift. That'll definitely affect the mirror finish. So basically this is a very straightforward one shot only. Here I have a new buffer on a squeegee. This one is a Monkey Corner Game. So basically those wingtips are really helping it from scratch. Even though this is a very high scratch resistant film, always a good idea to use a wingtip buffer just to be extra safe. And you can see how carefully I'm pulling the liner off, and even then you can see a couple little tiny bubbles on the side, which I'm not super crazy about. If this was like a PVC film, like let's say cut vinyl, you get a couple bubbles, no problem, you just gotta use an air release tool. But having bubbles with, let's say, a polyester film right here, because I have to have quite a few on the side, if I do pick it up, you're running the risk of actually getting kind of a distortion on the adhesive, as I said. So basically what I'm trying to point out in this video is, with these type of films, it's highly recommended not to do it dry. You definitely want to do it wet, and that's what you're going to see right now. So before putting it on the cabinet right now, here taking a tack cloth and just carefully going over both sides of the piece, just to make sure it's 100% speck free. Then once this is really good to go, definitely go one more time over the shelf right now. Now that the whole area is speck free, coming in with a light soap and water solution. Not too much soap. You definitely want to use, let's say, distilled water. That actually helps with the drying process, so you get that slide and glide benefit, no bubbles, but also dries those edges much quicker than if you use just, let's say, standard water and maybe too much soap. So just find that sweet spot. Here the adhesive is being exposed because the liner is being taken off, so just spray immediately, but don't spray too much water. That can affect the cutting process and the time it takes to set up this panel on the glass right now. So just carefully, quickly flip it over. And even though this particular finish is very scratch resistant, some other mirror films, if you ever do this type of install, can be really sensitive. So here in this case, using that Corner Game from the Monkey Strip and spraying the surface so it's extra slidey, and then just going back and forth with two hands, putting firm pressure on the film to really kind of force out that moisture. Then doing a 360 loop on the outside to really make sure that all the moisture is out, and double checking for bubbles. Now that it's good to go, coming back on with this great tool from Yellow Tools right now. So spraying on the surface, and it's got this handle, and you can actually adjust the angle so you can get the right pressure at the right kind of workflow right now. And so what I like about this now is this is really truly forcing the moisture out. So again, the buffer with the wingtip to begin, And then with the handle applicator, then always a good idea to dry it, and this is just double checking to make sure that the surface is 100% perfect, no bubbles, no nothing. And then you can go on to cutting. You can see the absolute amazing finish of this material, just really remarkable stuff. So that being said, I do want to show you one other install technique before we get to cutting, and that is using a roller. These rubber rollers are really, really nice. Actually shown on several videos on the Wrap Institute of installing frosted film with this, and I really like this because there's no chance of actually scratching the film. This is really good for sensitive film, and it's really good for just, rolling back and forth a nice steady pace, and it actually is quite good with, getting that moisture out. So you can see that I didn't put too much moisture under this particular panel, but it's going down bubble free, just back and forth, so there's no stress in this. It's slightly slower than, let's say, the squeegee and then that hand applicator, but in this case, I think if you're really going for safe, definitely choose that option. And because it was a wet install, always let it set up for at least, I would say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe check an edge just to make sure it's 100% down. And in this case, because the shelf was really low to the cutting mat, always on this type of install, you want to make sure you have enough space for the blade to breathe. So here I set it up on a box that's slightly smaller than the shelf, and this really allows me to cut safely and just have really kind of extend the blade. So with this type of film, it's not super thick per se. I would say it's around 3.5 mil thick. So again, not hyper thick, but it's got that polyester finish. So you really want to get a slightly angled in so you kind of get a flush cut there. Then always after you make the first cut, always come back in and shave. Very, very important. So again, polyester film is not flexible at all. Very, very stiff, so if there's anything hanging off the edge right now, that can lead to kind of some durability issues. So definitely shave it, and then here it's going back onto the cabinet. Always make sure you do it super careful. And you can see that the back section has been wrapped, and that's a separate video on the Wrap Institute, very good one, so definitely check that out. But I love that transformation. So with this beautiful scratch-resistant mirror film, really dynamically transforms this glass cabinet to one that's just definitely on a different level. Make sure you clean everything from handprints, and especially on the outside, so it just really enhances that mirror finish. And then in this case, this is going on the display area at the Wrap Institute, and you can see how cool it looks. So I hope you picked up some great tips and tricks. Thanks for watching. Justin Payton. In this video, you see this glass cabinet wrapped with a mirror film on the inside vertical section. So right now I'm making a very precise measurement. So with this type of install, because it's so far on the inside of the cabinet, definitely don't want to cut if you could avoid it. So here, using a dry erase marker and really making sure that it's just a perfect piece that fits top to bottom, left to right, just a little bit at the bottom just in case I need to shift it, but left to right, I really want it to be super precise. So here I'm measuring the vertical and now just carefully cutting on the table. So obviously have the straight edge on the outside area of the piece that I'm wrapping. Don't want to have that on the inside just in case it scratches. This particular film is from Osland. It's a company in Germany. Actually very scratch resistant, but other mirror films can be sensitive, especially obviously even picking it up. So definitely don't want to wrinkle it. So obviously want to clean it really good. Use a scraper and make sure it's 100% smooth. So now that it's install ready right now, what I'm doing is I'm spraying a soap solution, making sure it's super wet. With this type of install though, not too much soap. So I spray the inside, get it all covered. Then I spray the outside area just so it can hold. So keep in mind that the liner side is facing out. Wearing gloves, very important to wear gloves the entire time. Mirror film obviously shows fingerprints instantaneously. So want to skip that step of having any fingerprints on it. So always wear gloves the entire time. Here I'm just repositioning to make sure it's in good position, especially at the top, so I don't want too much on the floor area. And just carefully releasing the liner, spraying as I go, but really pay attention to kind of how I finish the bottom area now. So I spray the ground just to avoid any specks of dirt jumping up. I'm rolling the liner off, and then basically when I get to about a fifth of the way down from the bottom, so here just want to cut away the liner super careful. Obviously just make sure I hold it nice and steady, got that clear liner so it goes away. Definitely don't want to take the entire liner off again, just thinking always about little specks of dirt. This film is polyester. Anything that gets under it will stand out like a sore thumb because it doesn't conform. If I hit it with heat, it just basically just stays stiff. So it has to be hyper smooth. So now that the adhesive side is wet on the material, I spray the inside one more time just to be sure that it's 100% moisturized. Carefully flip it and then just line it up for the inside. So this is all about just taking a few seconds and really double and triple checking to make sure it fits perfectly left to right, top to bottom. I don't want it to be slightly off. I really want it to be super symmetrical. So here again, having those gloves on is really nice because I know that when I do pick it up, there's no oil from my fingers transferring to the adhesive side. So here it was pretty close, but I'm basically just now going to just really shift it, double and triple check it. You can see now it's sliding, gliding. It feels really good. So once I feel like it's in the right spot, then it's all about anchoring it in. So here, before I do it, again, double and triple checking, you can see that it just comes to the edge right now. So what I love about this is it took me a few seconds to prep in terms of cutting the piece and aligning it, but it saves me a huge amount of time because I don't have to cut at an awkward position. And now I release the bottom liner right there. So now the adhesive is fully exposed. I spray the bottom area and the surface just so now my squeegee can slide and glide. I'm here using a squeegee with a wingtip right now. This is actually the Monkey Strip Corner Games, brand new buffer, awesome. But regardless, we always want to use a wingtip squeegee here, and here you can see that it's nice and thin, and it really forces that moisture out. So what I like about using a squeegee here with a buffer is I just think it's just much more control during this process, so you can really kind of focus on getting most of the moisture out. And again, because this is polyester film, super, super stiff, got the little extra at the bottom that I basically just going to tuck to the bottom and then cut away. Now I come in with this amazing tool from Yellow Tool. You can actually angle it at different angles to whatever feels comfortable with. Double check that it's extra smooth, and now I'm really forcing all that moisture out. Here, just basically starting at the top so the moisture just flows towards the bottom. So be extra thorough during this process. I always like to do this second. So basically you're going to double squeegee this type of film on, but you can see now once this is on and squeegeed on, no need to cut. Awesome stuff. So the final step now is just very carefully wiping everything down. This is a water-based adhesive at this point, and for the most part it's not going to shift at all. But I really want to make sure that I squeegee when I'm going back and forth with the microfiber towel. Really want to make sure I overlap and don't press too hard. Just all about getting that moisture off. Also get the moisture off on the side of the glass, but you can see what a beautiful, absolute perfect mirror finish this is. No orange peeling. Also did these shelves in this one. That's a separate video on the Wrap Institute. Some great tips and tricks there, so definitely check out that video. But I love the transformation, and here's some Aslan swag in there, so we just got to give him props for this. Is a product and promo video we've made for him, and so this is some of the footage, but you can see that absolute amazing mirror footage, and this is a shot of the display area in the Wrap Institute. So I hope you can see that you can take some mirror film and dramatically change a cabinet like this. Thanks for watching. Justin Pate.